In hockey, there are two sets of rules. One set is in the rule book.
Ever wonder why players stop in front of the blue line like it's an electric fence? It's because they don't want to go offside.
Then there are a less easily defined set of unwritten rules. Sean Avery didn't care about those.
Call it tactics, call it antics, call it effective in the end. This is unbelievable. I've never seen anything like this.
During his 10-year NHL career, Sean Avery earned the reputation as being the most hated man in hockey.
I'll be right there all night, you slug.
In a sport largely criticized for lacking personality, Avery was the furthest thing from that. Despite never scoring 20 goals in a season, this guy earned celebrity status.
What was your funniest fan encounter?
A girl handed me her panties over the glass once.
In the hockey game?
During the warm-up. I was in the mecca of the entertainment world. It was always like, where are the pretty girls?
How did a loudmouth punk make millions of dollars by aggravating and often degrading the NHL with his on and off ice antics? Let's take a look. Dating back to his junior days playing for Owen Sound, Avery was already getting notoriety as a hellraiser. After finishing his junior career, Avery was invited to the Detroit Red Wings training camp on a professional tryout. There, he earned himself a 3-year contract. By 2001, Avery was earning NHL time on a Red Wings team jam-packed with Hall of Famers. The team had built a solid foundation and had plenty of veteran leadership. For that reason, Avery fit in just fine. His roommate was his childhood hero, Brett Hull, and by all accounts, it sounds like the pair had a great relationship.
When I played in Detroit, Colorado had Joe Sakic, and Sakic is in front of me lining up for a face-off, and I lean over the bench and I just start him about the suit that he wore into the game, and all of a sudden I feel my jersey pull like my dad was pulling me. He yanked me down on the bench beside me, and it was Brett Hull. He kind of looked over at me and said, "You will not speak to Mr. Sakic in that way." From that moment on, I never said a word to Joe Sakic.
In 2002, Detroit won the Stanley Cup, though Avery never earned a ring because he only played 36 games. Then in 2003, Avery made the leap to full-time NHL player with a regular spot on the Red Wings' fourth line. But at the trade deadline, the Wings were after LA's offensive D-man, Matthew Schneider, and the Kings made it clear that they weren't going to move him unless Avery was part of the package.
Hi, Sean. It's Ken Holland. We have traded you to the Los Angeles Kings as part of a deal to acquire Matthew Schneider. LA really wanted you bad. I tried to keep you out of the deal, but they wanted you in the deal.
In LA, Avery proved that he was a very competent two-way hockey player.
Avery across the line, left side, shoots and a save. Avery again, score! He banked it off the goaltender.
Avery watched his offensive stats improve year after year. He was also a strong penalty killer and a reliable player in his own end. Still, Avery was becoming much more famous for being an instigator and a jerk on and off the ice. Avery led the NHL in penalty minutes for 2 straight seasons, spending over 500 minutes in the sin bin in 2003-04 and 05-06 combined, with the lockout splitting those years. After the lockout, Avery went on a tear for the first couple months of the season. It began in preseason when Coyotes defenseman Denny Gauthier hit Kings veteran Jeremy Roenick and knocked him out of the game with a concussion. Avery proceeded to make headlines with these derogatory comments.
I think it was certainly a clean hit. I think it was typical of most French guys in our league with a visor on that, run around and play tough and can't back anything up.
I understand that you actually wrote a statement of apology. Did somebody make you do that?
It was a apology if I offended anyone.
In November, Avery hit Paul Kariya from behind into the boards, and shortly after, got beat up by Darcy Hordachuk.
Chuck goes after Avery, and Avery stays down on the ice.
After the game, Avery called Hordachuk the worst player in the NHL and Kariya the biggest diver in the league. Ironically, Avery himself had a reputation for possibly being the biggest diver in the league, and even Avery's own teammates weren't safe from his ridicule. Reports came out that he regularly bullied Dustin Brown, LA's future captain, when he entered the league. Unfortunately, Avery didn't seem to care about how anyone perceived him.
Has anyone from the team, though, Dave Taylor or Andy Murray, ever pulled you aside and sort of said, hey, maybe you might want to be a little less controversial?
They bring the polisher out and try and actually physically do it to me. Yeah, it happens on a weekly basis.
In January, LA's coach Andy Murray benched Avery for disrespecting teammates. Shortly after, Avery refused to do drills that his assistant coach Matt Hardy insisted on, which led to Avery getting suspended by the team for the end of the 2006 season. Clearly, Sean Avery wasn't the most loved guy in LA, but the hockey-related stuff was only half of what made Avery so despised. He had a whole life outside of hockey with an equally infuriating persona. While playing in Los Angeles, Avery was making a name for himself as a Hollywood playboy. Avery found himself as a regular in the gossip column for dating models and actresses like Rachel Hunter, Alicia Cuthbert, and allegedly Mary-Kate Olsen. In 2007, Avery was headlined in People's Magazine getting credit for his sexiness. Jeremy Roenick claimed that guys didn't like that Avery acted like a more established star than he actually was outside of the rink, and that he lived amongst the Hollywood people. Eventually, around the trade deadline in 2007, Dean Lombardi found a taker on Avery and traded him to the one place where the lights are even brighter than Hollywood.
Second deal this week, Sean Avery acquired from the Los Angeles Kings, getting set to play his first game as a Ranger at Madison Square Garden. Your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's exciting. It was exciting walking over to the rink, and you know what? I'm not going to try and do too much. I'm just going to try and cause a little disturbance.
Well, I don't have to tell you to go out there and hit somebody because I know you will. Thanks, Sean.
Really, thanks.
Sean Avery's impact was felt immediately when he joined the Rangers.
Good pass, wrist shot, score! Sean Avery! In his Rangers debut, makes it 4-0 with a beautiful wrist shot. And here's Sean Avery getting power play time, talking with Colin White. They're keeping up a good jabber. They chop at each other with the sticks.
Hey, Rosie, you come near me again and I'll take St. Louis' head off.
At the time, the Rangers were in 11th place in the Eastern Conference. Once they inserted Sean Avery into their lineup, the Rangers went 17-8-4 to finish 6th in the conference. In that span, Avery played nearly 18 minutes per game and scored 20 points in 29 games to close out the season. Late in the season against the Maple Leafs, Avery made his presence felt with a 2-goal Gordie Howe hat trick in which he spent the whole game stirring it up with Darcy Tucker.
Glove in the helmet in front. Avery comes back with a right, down goes Tucker.
Avery remained the most hated player in the league, but instantly became the most loved player by the New York Rangers fan base. Avery made a positive contribution in his first ever playoff series, helping the Rangers sweep Atlanta in the first round, the team's first series win since 1997. The Rangers fell in the second round to Buffalo in 6 games, but Sean Avery had cemented himself as an integral player for the Rangers.
Sean, a year ago today you became a New York Ranger. How would you describe this year?
It's probably one of the best years of my life. Certainly one of the best days of my life.
The next season, in 2007-08, Avery scored 33 points in just 57 games, helping the Rangers make the playoffs as the 4th seed where they would match up against the New Jersey Devils in the first round. Avery made it his mission to make Martin Brodeur's life hell, leading to Game 3, possibly the most memorable of Avery's career. At one point in the game, the Rangers were on a 5-on-3 power play when Avery stood above the crease and faced Brodeur while waving his hands and stick in his face in order to distract him.
We're on the power play. It's a 5-on-3, and people are like shocked that Sean Avery's in the diamond. I'll never forget. Puck comes in the corner. I'm grabbing it, and I turn around. You start hearing fans do some looking at Marty, and he's waving his. And it's like people have no clue what's going on, if this is even legal. Now think of the guys on the ice. Like we're all like, what the. And for anything, it's kind of working, but if you watch the video, Aves, I don't know if you can do that. Like, chill out, like, turn around, like.
Worst part for the Devils, Avery scored on the same power play.
Gomez holding on to it out in front. They score! The guy you talked about, Sean Avery. Power play goal.
The very next day, the NHL came up with a new rule known as the Sean Avery rule, which insists that facing the goalie while screening him moving forward would be an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. The Rangers went on to win the series in just 5 games, and Brodeur refused to shake Avery's hand when the series ended.
Fatso there just forgot to shake my hand, I guess, so.
He finished the series with 3 goals and 5 points in 5 games, and this was in his contract year. He even earned himself a spot on the front cover of the Hockey News magazine, where they labeled him as an evil genius. In the second round, the Rangers lost to the Penguins, but Avery did enough to make him a highly coveted free agent. But first, he surprised a lot of people when he agreed to intern at Vogue magazine during his summer. Avery really wanted to remain a New York Ranger, and the Rangers wanted him to stay, but the Dallas Stars came forward with an offer he couldn't refuse. It was a 4-year deal worth nearly $16 million. Unfortunately, things went sour in Dallas incredibly quickly. Early in the season, in a matchup against the Bruins, Sean Avery and coadjutor Steve Ott racked up a combined 69 of the 146 penalty minutes handed out in a gong show 5-1 loss to the Bruins. Stars captain Mike Modano called it embarrassing, and also claimed that Avery was self-consumed and isolated himself from his Stars teammates. Clearly, the Dallas Stars just couldn't stand Avery, and in early December, with the team struggling to win games, Avery made a famous joke directed at Flames defenseman Dion Phaneuf and Kings center Jarrett Stahl, who were dating Rachel Hunter and Alicia Cuthbert, 2 of Avery's ex-girlfriends.
It's become like a common thing in the NHL for guys to fall in love with my sloppy seconds. I don't know what that's about, but enjoy the game tonight.
The incident was the last straw for Dallas, and the NHL came down hard on Avery. They suspended him for 6 games without pay and sent him to anger management therapy.
Not only kicked me off the team, banished me, they sent me to rehab in California. The thing that they didn't understand is I woke up every morning. I had a 2-hour massage. I then transitioned that into a 2-hour workout with like a private trainer, followed by lunch with no sugar and no carbs. Then in the afternoon, I got to sit with some lovely lady and talk about myself for 2 hours. What narcissist doesn't love this? It's the best.
Avery's teammates were happy he was getting the boot. By the time he was eligible to return, the Stars didn't want him. Avery only ended up playing a total of 23 games for Dallas after signing his big contract and was assigned to the AHL. He played 8 games before getting claimed by the New York Rangers on re-entry waivers, where he would once again get to play in Madison Square Garden while the Stars would be paying half his salary. Only thing that was different was that the Rangers no longer had Tom Renney as their coach. They had John Tortorella, who hated Avery's guts.
He's just selfish. That's what he is. It's gotten so bad here. He's embarrassed himself. He's embarrassed his organization. More importantly, he's embarrassed his teammates who have to kind of look out for him here now. It's the NHL. He's embarrassed the whole league. Send him home. Right now, I would have nothing to do with him.
So, of course, John was asked about those very comments today at Rangers practice.
There's going to be a lot of people want information and turn this into a bigger thing. Sean Avery is a player coming to the New York Ranger organization. We want him to fit in and play under a team concept. If he does that, we feel he can be effective. I know you guys are really anxious to see how this is all going to go, but he has really tried to help himself.
In 2010, Avery suited up for a heated rematch against the Stars, where he scored a goal and recorded 4 points in a 5-2 win, typical of Sean Avery, who always seemed to find a way to get the last laugh. But his second stint in New York was defined more by a tumultuous relationship with Tortorella.
You do not hold back your feelings about John Tortorella, who coached the Rangers.
Yeah.
What didn't you like about him?
I thought he was insecure and he didn't let his players be men that led the team and took their responsibilities upon themselves. I never liked coaches that tried to police a dressing room. You've got 23 men that police themselves. I played for Scotty Bowman, who was one of the best coaches in the history of the game. He let the room enforce themselves. That's what great teams do.
In 2011, before the season started, the Rangers cut Avery in training camp and assigned him to the AHL with a year remaining on his deal. Fans protested at Madison Square Garden in support of Avery. After 7 games in the AHL, the Rangers called up Avery, but he only played 15 games and averaged the least playing time since his days in Detroit. In 2012, when Avery's 4-year contract expired, he stopped playing hockey.
Sure, right now, what are your plans for the future?
Hockey-wise. I am officially retired. I threw my skates in the Hudson.
Since retirement, Avery has continued acting and modeling, has become an activist, and even published a book. But what do we make of his career? Clearly, Avery was talented, and clearly he was hated. The question is, would Avery have been a more effective player and had a better career had he just kept his mouth shut and let his game do the talking? It's hard to say. His antics might have been selfish, but we think that being the center of attention brought the best out of Avery. It's no coincidence that he played his best games against former teams and in the playoffs. One thing for certain, Sean Avery is likely one, if not the most hated player in recent hockey memory. And the way that the game and society is trending, we think it's pretty unlikely that we see an enigma anything like him in the NHL anytime soon.